Our task is to write the truth table of the logical statement I may read as either P and not Q or Q. Now there are many ways to read this one. I just chose that for better identification of the operators identified here. So we have the operator of and not inside the grouping symbol, and outside we have the or for the disjunction. The first step here is identifying the number of rows needed for a truth table given with the formula 2 to the power of n. Even if we have the not q here, we still have two propositions p and q, so this is 2 squared. We don't count not q as another proposition because it's just a version of our q. This means you have 4 rows for our truth table. We will start with our header p and q this time for our first two columns, and we will be adding here the 4 rows. We have 1, 2, 3, and then the 4th row here. So the first two columns will include the truth value that we need to emphasize for P and Q propositions. Let me enclose this with another row, but this doesn't count with the 4 rows identified earlier. For our first column, this is true and this is true, to be paired with true for Q and another false. Going back to our first column, this is false and this is also false, to be paired with true and false. Checking the combinations, all of them are placed there. Now, as mentioned, we have 3 different logical operators here. We need to start with the operator inside the grouping symbol. But specifically, let's start with the not Q, or the negation of Q. This because the negation of Q will be subjected into another logical operator against P. So we need to start with that before going into the conjunction of P and not Q. The negation of Q for its truth value will only reverse the truth value of Q. So for this being true, this is now false. If this is false, this is true. The 3rd row is true, giving us false, and the 4th one is false, providing us this with our true. This is now the table, or the column rather, we are going to pair with our P to come up with the next column, which is for the conjunction of P and not Q. Right? That's the conjunction. So let me add here the 4 rows mentioned. After this, we will be subjecting this to the last logical operator that is outside the disjunction with our proposition Q. So going back here, this notation for conjunction allows us to provide the truth value of true if and only if both propositions, or in this case P and not Q, to be exactly true, so that our result should also be true. Now looking into that, P is true but not Q is false for our first row. This tells us that the result of the conjunction is false because they should be both true. Next, true and true. This time, our result is true. Next, false and false. Both propositions are false. This means the result is also false. And then, false and true. This means this is false as well. We are now done with our conjunction, and finally with this, and going back to our second column to be paired with our result here, we'll have the disjunction of both. So again, this is either P and not Q or Q. Okay. Now, for some of us who have problems with this, there is another suggestion, because Q is far from this result here. Some of us might want to write Q here just for a basis of our connection with our next logical operator. and this is true. Look at the second column, false, true, and false, because this together with this will be subjected on disjunction. But for some of us who can automatically use this second column, it's okay. I'm just illustrating this for easier understanding of the final result. Take note that our final operator is conjunction, disjunction, or, so we only need one of the two to be true for our result to be true. Since this is false and this is true, given with that, there's one of which is true. This is true. Next, since this is true and this is false given with that, again, one of which is true. This is true. Next, false and true given with this second column. So this is also true, having one of the two being true. And finally, false and false. This time, this is false. This is now the truth table for the logical statement I read as either P and not Q or Q. Don't forget to like and share our videos, leave a comment, and reasonably subscribe to our channel.